Oftentimes in today's day and age, I see a story and I think, I should be shocked by this. I should be disgusted by this. But I'm at the point now where I go, what do you expect? This is the United States of America, and it's 2023. And things will, almost as a law of nature, things will continue to get progressively worse year by year. So look at this. This is in the Associated Press. Missouri House votes against limits on kids carrying guns. Let me repeat that. Missouri House votes against limits on kids carrying guns. So in other words, they are fighting for the right for children to be armed to the teeth. Missouri's Republican-led House on Wednesday voted against banning minors from openly carrying firearms on public land without adult supervision. What is there to say? The proposal to ban children from carrying guns without adult supervision in public failed by a 104 to 39 vote. Only one Republican voted in support of it. Democratic Representative Donna Barringer said police in her district asked for the change to stop 14-year-olds walking down the middle of the street in the city of St. Louis carrying AR-15s. Now they have been emboldened and they are walking around with them, Barringer said. Until they actually brandish them and brandish them with intent, our police officers' hands are handcuffed. Missouri lawmakers in 2017 repealed concealed carry requirements in most situations. The measure was part of an hours-long House debate on the best way to fight crime, particularly in the St. Louis area. Republican Representative Lane Roberts, a former Joplin, Missouri police chief and state public safety director, initially included the restrictions on children possessing guns in a broader crime bill, which the House voted to give initial approval to later Wednesday. But lawmakers on a House committee that Roberts leads stripped the provision on guns last week. Quote, every time we talked about the provision related to guns, we knew that was going to be difficult on our side of the aisle, Roberts said. I love this. They're like, we knew it was going to be really difficult to get through a ban on children open carrying guns in the street without adult supervision. Wow. Republicans decried the effort as an unneeded infringement on gun rights. An unneeded infringement on gun rights. Children open carrying. Quote, while it may be intuitive that a 14-year-old has no legitimate purpose, it doesn't actually mean that they're going to harm someone. We don't know that yet, said Representative Tony Lavasco, a Republican from St. Louis suburb of O'Fallon. Generally speaking, we don't charge people with crimes because we think they're going to hurt someone. Other provisions in the measure would allow the governor to appoint a special prosecutor in counties with high crime rates. A provision targeted at St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner. Republican lawmakers for years have criticized Gardner, a 47-year-old Democrat, first elected in 2016 as St. Louis's first black female prosecutor. She's one of several progressive prosecutors elected in recent years with a focus on creating more fairness in the criminal justice system, but Republican lawmakers say she's not doing enough to fight crime. Anyway, what is there to say, right? You think it's against the Second Amendment to stop a 14-year-old from open carrying without adult supervision? The Second Amendment, let's break this down in simple terms. To use originalism and textualism, the idea that the plain-faced reading of the Constitution is all that matters. When the founders wrote the Constitution, and they wrote the Second Amendment, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They were literally talking about muskets. Those fucking things took like a minute to reload, and you got one shot that was horribly inaccurate, right? They couldn't envision in a million years the kinds of weaponry that we have today, the advanced weaponry that we have today. And then, of course, when you actually read the specifics, they were talking about, why did they put this in the Constitution? They were talking about standing armies. They wanted to make sure we didn't have standing armies because they thought that was a threat to order. And also, there's some literature that suggests they were talking about slave patrols have the right to the arms to prevent the slaves from escaping. That's what it was about. Which, by the way, you're pretty fucking dumb and stupid, right? Like, we shouldn't even had slaves, but they're like, oh, we greenlight the slave patrols to be armed. So, they even, by the way, let me just point this out. They even have the word regulated in the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So when they argue like, you can't do basic regulation, regulated is literally, the word is literally in the Second Amendment, bro. It's in the Second Amendment. And so the idea that this violates the Second Amendment is laughable. Is laughable. Is this what the founders envisioned, man? Is this what they wanted? Let a 14-year-old open carry without adult supervision, and open carry a kind of gun that we couldn't even fucking conceptualize when we wrote the Second Amendment. These people, let's call it what it is. The right in this country, funded by the NRA, they are in favor of gun anarchy. These are the same people who want to say, even if you have a criminal conviction, even if you have previous gun-related crime, even in those situations, even if you're a domestic abuser, even in those situations, government can't come in and take your weapon no matter what. You have a right to that weapon no matter what. So they're even at the point where they say, in the hands of literal criminals, they have a right to guns. Even if they've proven they can't be trusted with guns, they have a right to guns. You tell me that this hasn't run amok. You tell me that we haven't lost our goddamn minds. And remember, we have about 35,000 gun deaths every single year in this country. Decent chunk of them are like suicides, but a lot of them are homicides. 35,000 gun deaths. And you can't, even the most basic reform, they flip out about. And by the way, we did have some gun reform recently, but man, it was weak. We still don't even have a universal background check. I mean, imagine that. And we tried to incentivize every state to do their own version of a red flag law. But even that, it's like not every state is doing it. So what is a red flag law? That's like, if somebody is walking around saying, I am going to do a mass shooting, I am a psychopath. In that scenario, you can legally take their guns. That's what a red flag law is. Now you're saying, well, Kyle, that's the most obvious thing in the world. Of course that should be allowed. A lot of Republicans are against it. A lot of Republicans are against having a national red flag law. So this is where we are. And now they want the right of 14-year-olds to open carry without adult supervision. Because, there's a bunch of legitimate reasons for a child to be walking around in a city in the middle of the road with a weapon without adult supervision. No problem there. The funniest part is, these are the same people who screech and moan that we're in favor of law and order. I cannot think of anything that promotes disorder more than this. I mean, this is like, be flagrant and brazen in your threats, and is perfectly fine in every way, shape, and form. Look, I have no problem. I'm a moderate on the issue, right? I have no problem with law-abiding citizens having guns within reasonable rules and boundaries and parameters, right? But we're so far beyond that we're here now. So, anyway, there you have it. By the way, at the same time that these Republican states are arguing for the right of children to open carry without adult supervision, at the same time they're doing this, we just covered, I just tweeted out a story the other day. In Iowa and I think Nebraska, a couple of Republican states, you have them opting out of a federal program that gives poor families with kids $40 a week for food. They go, we're against that. We don't even want, even though the federal government's footing at least half the bill, we don't want the $40 a month to give to poor families so their kids can eat. We're saying no to that. But we will let that child carry a gun. No problem at all. Warped priorities, to say the least. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.